My next step is to cut the thin piece of cement sheet that'll fit in between our windows. After penciling out the marks, I clamp a piece of aluminium angle to the cement sheet to hold it in place whilst I cut it with a scoring knife. The process to cut cement sheet is a score and snap method.
You come and go like a monsoon rain. You hide and show like a lightning bolt. You have it all.
In this video series, I take you through the process of how we created this backyard art studio. It features 3 large windows and glass doors to allow natural light to fill the interior. It also includes an outdoor covered awning space with a hardwood batten privacy screen. We chose to use passive house design systems in the construction to make the most of the year-round weather conditions. In the last episode, we ran electric wires across the roof for the lighting and completed the edge of the plywood ceiling. We were then able to add the waterproof membrane, foil board insulation, timber treated battens, and finally the corrugated iron to complete our roof. Completing the roof is a major step forward in the construction of our studio, as it can now dry out, enabling us to install materials on the inside. In this episode, we'll install the 3 windows and 2 doors, then move on to completing the walls by adding the cement sheet cladding. Due to the size and weight of our windows, I'll be doing some preparation to make it easier for the installation. I'm installing a temporary ramp so we can use a dolly to roll the windows inside the studio. The windows are extremely heavy and hard to lift with 2 people, so by resting the window on top of the dolly to take the weight, we should be able to move the windows inside quite easily.
Come closer, dance for me. Easy tiger, easy, let your hair down. Come closer, let me see all your million faces and all your million mistakes. You don't need to hide.
The next part of the preparation for our window installation is to create platform steps that match the rough opening in our walls. This way we can walk the windows up gently into place and not have to carry the entire weight of the window.
Your eyelids and perfect lips got me rushing, pen and I'm so lit. Like lilies you open, fragrance goes to my head, my darling. I get everything that has been, don't matter no more. We've burned it, all those whirlwinds can't touch us no more. We've earned it, we've earned it.
I've also added battens on the outside of our rough openings. This is a safety feature to stop them falling out as we get them in place. Professional window installers would be going about this in a different way, using specialised equipment and many more people to do the installation. As there's only Chris and I, we've set up our own customised system to install the windows without damaging them or hurting ourselves. Here you can see how the ramp we constructed earlier helps us roll the window inside the studio. A double glazed window of this size is extremely heavy, so we take our time moving slowly and carefully to avoid causing any damage to the window. Once it's in the upright position, we can carefully walk it up the platform steps we prepared earlier. The rough opening in the wall has been built 20mm higher and 20mm wider than the actual window size. This doesn't give you a lot of wiggle room to fit the window in the opening. So to make it easier for us, the top of these platform timber steps is flush with the bottom of the windowsill, so we can slide the window in carefully. The temporary battens we attach to the outside of the wall stop the window falling out and also help set the plane so the window is sitting in the correct depth of the wall. Once our window is sitting snug up against the outside battens, I add a batten on the inside to ensure the window doesn't fall out of position. After checking from the outside that it's roughly in the correct position, we start the process of the fine-tuning of the window. After double checking with my level that the window's sitting relatively plumb, I add packers in the space between the window frame and the rough opening in the wall. This will help keep the window roughly in the correct position as we make adjustments on the bottom of the window with more packers. Here I'm using my crowbar to help lift the windowsill up so I can insert packers underneath. Once I've filled out the space between the window frame and the wall with the appropriate size packers, I double check it with my level to make sure it's plumb, and then start the process of fixing the window in place with screws. I start the process by drilling a shallow hole with a large drill bit to create a pocket for the screw head so it'll end up flush with the window reveal. I then drill a pilot hole and install the 10 gauge galvanized screws, leaving them flush with the inside of the reveal so I can cover them later with filler. I also make sure each screw has a packer behind it to ensure we get a solid connection from the window frame into the wall.
Mostly off the track and under attack, so we earned it. Yeah, we stayed loyal to each other. Now everything that has been don't matter no more. We've earned it. All those whirlwinds can't touch us no more. We've earned it.
After the window installation is complete, I double check that it's aligned correctly by opening and closing it. We repeat the process on the second identical window and then move on to the large 3-paneled window on the other side of the studio. Our windows and doors arrived about a month ago, and we've kept them under our temporary shed to keep them out of the weather. After freeing up the window from all the straps we used to keep it safe from the wind, we carefully place it on the dolly for transport into the studio.
Of all the magic places in the world I've been to, this is where my heart is. Oh, you know it's true. No matter where I go, I'm coming home to you. Been walking down the street so many times, my feet know every brick and stone. Could wear a blindfold. No matter what I do, I'm coming home to you. And I don't know why, don't know why, don't know why I'm always feeling homesick.
After adding temporary battens on the inside to hold the window in place, I add packers in the 10mm gap between the window and the wall. When I'm satisfied the window's centered in the rough opening, I start the process of securing it by adding our galvanized countersunk screws. I double check the windows in alignment with our extended frame on the outside before continuing with fixing it in place with the screws. The tricky part of this process is getting the packer to hang appropriately over the screw inside the 10mm gap. Here I'm using my crowbar and set square to poke the packer into the appropriate position before securing the screw. After adding 4 screws to each side of the window, we start the process of removing the temporary battens.
I have seen many places where the beauty never ends. Different cities, friendly faces, and perhaps I'm going back.
With our 3 windows secured, we move on to installing the 2 identical doors. They're a lot lighter than the windows, so we don't need the dolly to move them into position. The doors and windows come from different manufacturers and require different installation techniques. The door design is more of an American style that has a flange which is secured to the outside rough opening frame. After adding some packers under the bottom of the door to make sure that it's level and plumb, I double check that it opens and closes before adding the first screw on the hinge side. I pre-drill the aluminium flange of the window before installing a galvanized flathead screw into the timber frame. I'm adding about half a dozen screws either side of the door to secure it, keeping in mind that later in the process we'll be adding expansion foam into the 10mm gap between the door and window frames and the rough opening. This not only adds a lot of strength to the doors and windows, it seals them to the weather and adds insulation to stop air and cold transferring through the gap. Here you can see how I've added packers behind some of the screws to keep the door frame completely level and plumb. After installing the second identical door in the same way, I always double check that it opens, closes and locks properly. With the first stage of the door and window installation complete, the reason for our temporary shed is now redundant, so it's time to dismantle it.
Tonight we'll turn minutes into days, and nothing's gonna make me look away. Peel off a layer and breathe. Lift up your head and read. Count the stars before you leave. Save a kiss, pretty please. Try to reminisce over me. Know that I will cherish your memories.
We have a few more steps to complete before the windows and doors are completely weatherproof. Here you can easily see light coming through the 10mm gap between the window frame and the wall. The next step will be to cover this with flashing tape from the outside. I'm applying the purpose-made flashing tape to the bottom of the window first. I'm installing it in small lengths to help manage the extreme stickiness of the product. It's critical to start at the bottom of the window first when you're flashing, so the tape joins overlap in the right direction, which helps stop water being able to seep into any tape overlap points. Once the 10mm gap is completely covered on the bottom of the window, I move up to covering the sides. Here it's possible to use one continual length of flashing tape. This helps avoid any overlaps and opportunities for moisture to leak into the system. Once the flashing tape is secured at the top of the window, I slowly pull the waxed backing paper out as I stick it down the side of the window frame. This helps achieve a really good adhesion between the wall and the window frame without any crinkles or creases. When I reach the bottom of the window with the flashing tape, I make sure it overlaps the piece we added along the sill first. Then cut off the excess and move on to the other side of the window.
Cutting grass and chopping wood can be romantic. Sipping coffee under the apple tree is gentlemanly. Well, you're a good man, quite the best man, a real fine man. When the wind blows and the windows are closing, you let the world know that what has been has been. And there's no use in looking back, going back, wishing back.
After marking out the membrane, I'm cutting it off so it fits just above the top of the window flange. This will help direct any moisture that forms in the top of the window outside the wall into our rain screen cavity. Once I've completed the cut, I attach the membrane to the top of the window flange with our flashing tape, using smaller pieces so it's manageable. The purpose-made flashing tape is extremely sticky, so by doing it in small pieces, it stops it sticking in the wrong place. The final step in the flashing process is to drill 2 small holes at the bottom of the sill. These holes will help any moisture that's trapped under the sill drain out into the rain screen cavity.
When the wind blows and the windows are closing, you let the world know that what has been has been, and there's no use
flashing complete on the windows and doors, we move on to the cement sheet cladding that's the final layer on the outside of our walls. The cement sheet we're using is 1200mm wide and matches our 600mm on centre stud layout in the walls. The material's quite heavy, so to make it easy for us, I've set up a temporary timber platform. This helps take the weight of the sheet so we can make adjustments to get it in the correct position. I then position it so the edge of the sheet lays halfway across the battens that match the stud layout in our wall. I use packers to get the sheet completely plumb with the wall before securing it with a galvanised nail. When I'm satisfied with the position, I fill out the sheet with nails every 300mm.
If you have love, you wanna give me some, and I will wait for someone else to come. Oh, it's sad, but it feels right. Are we just hallucinating now? This is the final I just take a bow. While it all falls apart, guess you can't win them all. Oh no.
Sheeting the section between the two windows is going to require some additional attention. I've cut a piece of scrap timber to help me calculate the size of the packers I'll need to add to bring this piece of sheeting up to the correct wall plane. Part of the preparation for this is marking out where I'll be placing the packers, as they need to fall directly under the nails we'll be adding later. With the sheeting complete on the right hand side of the wall, I'm moving the temporary bench that assists me in setting the sheets at the correct height and also provides a clean platform for the packers and tape I'll be using in the next step. It's worth spending some time to get this temporary bench at the correct height. By removing some gravel, I can set the bench about 5 to 10mm lower than the finished height of the cement sheet. This gives me enough wiggle room to add packers under the cement sheet so I can get it plumb to the wall. Once the bench is at the correct height, I start preparations for sticking the packers onto the battens to help correct the slight defect in our wall. I'm using small pieces of the purpose-made flashing tape to hold the packers in the correct position on the battens. I then use my scrap piece of timber to help make a measurement of what size packers I need to add to keep the wall plane true to the edge of the window. By using a combination of 1.5mm to 3mm packers, I can make up the slight defect we have in the wall here. The thickness of the timber wall studs and battens isn't perfect, so by adding packers in this way we can correct any variations in our wall plane.
Breaking feedback, unless I'm gonna stay right here. Stay until it disappears.
Prepared with 1.5 and 3mm packers, my next step is to cut the thin piece of cement sheet that'll fit in between our windows. After penciling out the marks, I clamp a piece of aluminium angle to the cement sheet to hold it in place whilst I cut it with a scoring knife. I'm using a purpose-made tool that's designed to scratch a trench into the cement sheet. The process to cut cement sheet is a score and snap method. Once I've scored the line on the material, I use my aluminium angle as a leverage point under the score mark, then tap along the line with my rubber hammer. This helps crack the material in a perfectly straight line. I then mark and score the next cut. This time I'm using a different method to snap the piece of cement sheet by using the edge of our temporary bench. The next step is to mark the nail holes out with our story stick. This will ensure that the nails line up with the packers we added to the battens earlier.
Can I go to sleep
larger vertical pieces installed on the wall, I'm now working on smaller horizontal pieces above and below the window. I'm doing a dry test fit to make sure it lines up before I add any glue. You'll notice I have packers taped about every 200mm along the bottom of the sill. This is to help water drain out of the window system into the rain screen. When I apply the glue, I make sure I leave gaps in between the 3mm packers. This will ensure a drainage channel directly under the sill. After I've applied the glue, I gently return the cement sheet to its correct position and fix it in place with a combination of screws and nails. I'm using countersunk stainless steel decking screws for the edge closest to the window. I install a screw over each packer that's lying behind the cement sheet. This allows me more control than using nails for the section that's over the drainage channels.
As a young girl, the fields were mine. We played hide and seek for hours, raised our shadows among the pines. So offshore, playful and free, without a care in the world. I was one rich little girl, daydreamer, kidnap me. Take me back, all the way back to them days, running around in a gown and a crown, barefoot.
With the cement sheet complete on this wall, I move around to the side of our studio to sheet the wall that has the pet door opening. Because of the raked roof on this wall, I'll be doing a slightly different configuration of the cement sheeting. The pet door is the only opening on this wall, so I prepare it in the same way as we did the previous windows, but on a smaller scale. We're sheeting this wall in two halves. After the bottom half of the wall is covered with cement sheet, we move on to sheeting the top half. I attach a temporary batten to the wall to create a ledge to assist in this process. When all the sheets are in place on this wall, I add Sikaflex around the pet door opening to create a waterproof seal. Before we start installing the cement sheet to this side of the studio, I have some work to do on the door frame. I'm adding a timber frame extension similar to the window buffs, but because the door frames come from a different manufacturer, it requires a slightly different approach. I'm placing packers over the flange of the door, so when I add the timber over the top, it'll come up to the same thickness as our battens on the wall. This will enable the cement sheet to sit flat all the way up to the edge of the door. Here I'm trying different sized packers, then double checking with my set square to see which thickness will be appropriate to create a flush transition for the cement sheet. Once I've established I need to use a 3mm packer, I tape them onto the flange of the door at approximately 300mm intervals all the way around the frame. I do one last double check with my set square to make sure the timber is set at the appropriate thickness, then fix it in place with countersunk screws.
No mistake ever kept me late. We spent summers catching fireflies and winters on our skates. One big smile across my face. We used to dance our way to church on Sundays. Mama set the pace. Daydreamer, kidnap me. Take me back, all the way back to them days, running around in a gown and a crown, barefoot.
This frame extension is made out of primed treated timber and will create a backing for the battens we'll be adding later after we complete the cement sheet installation. After measuring and cutting the material, we're ready to install our first piece of cement sheet on this side of the studio. I'm preparing the battens in the standard way by adding a thin bead of liquid nails to all the contact points. The temporary bench helps take the weight of the cement sheet so we can accurately place it on the glue bead. I add a couple of nails to hold the sheet in place and then start preparing the edge that butts up against the door. After pre-drilling all the holes, I add 10 gauge stainless steel countersunk decking screws. One of the good reasons for using screws along the door frame edge is it avoids having to use a hammer so close to the aluminium frame and glass door. Because of the raked roof pattern on this wall, it's critical to dry fit each sheet before we glue it in place. By using packers between the bench and the bottom of the sheet, I can make small adjustments to get it in exactly the right position.
Daydreamer, kidnap me, take me back, all the way back to them days. Daydreamer, kidnap me, have me running around in a gown and a crown, barefoot. Have me running around, dressed in a gown, barefoot.
Staging for your construction process is important for a number of reasons. It enables us to install the product without damaging the material or injuring ourselves. In this case, I create a temporary timber bench that supports the weight of the cement sheet whilst we secure it in place. Once the support stumps are set to the correct height, I bring in a 6-metre piece of framing material. This was one of the roof rafters of our temporary shed we deconstructed earlier. I set it hard up against the wall and secure it to our stumps with screws. I'm setting the height of our temporary bench about 10 mil lower than the cement sheet will need to be in the final installation. The final step in this staging process is to secure 10 mil packers all along the timber bench and make sure they're level.
Hey, darling, can I tell you what's been on my mind? Sick and tired of the 9 to 5 in the city life. Hey, darling, we could get out of town, see the beautiful world around, wanna see it now.
The final step in preparation for installing the cement sheet is to add the packers on the window buff all around the window frame. This will allow water and moisture to drain out of the window system. The large window on this side of the studio has no eave to protect it from the rain, so it's extra critical we have an effective drainage system to help the window avoid developing dry rot over the life of the building.
Could you listen to somebody else? Will you only drink from the thoughts of yourself? Are you under the can't be spilled? You dig in your heels and spread the disease. You're spreading the disease. Back up the drive a bit. Could you see what this is? This is a part of it all. Over and over, injustice to injury. This is a part of it all. Could you hike back to it, fight with it, sit with it? This is a part of it all. Ask around, be aware, make peace with what is there.
This concludes the installation of the cement sheeting for the exterior walls. Join me on the next episode as we install hardwood frames around the outside of our aluminium windows, 40mm primed battens to the seams of our exterior cement sheet, make a start on the interior plywood wall panelling, and build the hardwood batten privacy screen under our awning.
Could you hike back to it, fight with it, sit with it?